Back here, Radio Row, SEC Media Days. Finally, Arkansas Day. We'll get a chance to hear from Sam Pittman, Taylon Green, Cam Ball, and Xavier Sori coming up in just a bit. But for now, we chat with Alyssa Lane, ESPN SEC Network. Alyssa, this is I know a lot of questions are always asked this week. What questions do you have of Arkansas heading into this season?
That in and of itself is a great question. I would be very curious to see or hear what Taylon Green's offseason looked like compared to this time last year. Going into year two, obviously, we all know, having had some SEC experience, will feel different for Taylon Green. Him and Bobby Petrino, trial by fire last year and getting to know each other in SEC play, understanding what Taylon needs from Bobby, what this coaching staff needs to do in order to get the best out of Taylon. I would expect there to be adjustments made, and I'm curious what they are. I would expect Taylon to have taken some time after last season was over to say, okay, this is what surprised me about being a QB1 in this league. This is what I need to work on. I either need to get stronger, I need to work on my footwork. Whatever he feels like could make him more comfortable, that's what I would be most curious to hear, because I have high expectations for Taylon Green this year. I really do think that he's one of those quarterbacks that could take one of the biggest step forward relative to what he did a season ago.
I'm sure one of the questions Sam Pittman will address later today, one thing that Taylon's goes about is who's going to catch the football.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at the percentage of production, it's in the mid-upper 90s that's gone for Arkansas, and now with reports of Emmanuel Cisse's wrist being injured, I mean, there's a lot of questions as who will be the top 2 or 3 wide receivers.
Yeah, and the beauty and the detriment, I guess, of this time of year is we evaluate so much on familiar names that come back and the amount of production that comes back. And sometimes I'll tell fan bases, certainly in the situation that Arkansas was in last year with some high highs and low lows, sometimes you have addition by subtraction, right? And I'm not saying the guys who left were bad football players. Some of them stayed in the SEC, and I expect to be contributors on their new roster. But I even think about like this time last year and how we felt about the Vanderbilt Commodores. They lost their entire quarterback room, so much of that team, and you're going, who's even going to run out there for Vanderbilt? And then lo and behold, they have one of the best seasons in recent Vanderbilt history because of that addition by subtraction. So I do think that, knowing Sam Pittman and what he has done over the past few years, the caliber of player that he has recruited to Arkansas, whether it's out of high school or out of the portal, it's hard to sit with Sam Pittman for 5 minutes and not want to go play for that guy. I would expect that he has made some pretty great transfer portal pitches, and there will be maybe more for Arkansas than any other team, players that we have no idea even exist right now that will be names that we're talking about a lot in October.
Alyssa, if they ever do finally sort out revenue sharing and how it's all going to work and the limits on NIL, is that will that be something that narrows the gap for programs like Arkansas that are trying to get to the upper tier of this league? What do you think the end effect will be on this when it finally, is put into play?
It's a great question, because what does it even look like when it's finally, put into play, and how many changes are made? We've heard coaches all week this week talk about how we're still not even close to the end game of what this thing needs to look like. I have no doubt, though, that a program like Arkansas, with not only the passion that donors and big names around the program have for the program, would be in the perfect position for that gap to be narrowed, right? Arkansas is not one of those programs where I've ever worried, like, will they be able to keep up in the world of NIL? Now, decision-making will always be questioned by fan bases and what's happening in the program. And I know that Arkansas has not been immune to that, certainly over the past couple of weeks and past couple of months. But Arkansas is a program that has all the resources imaginable, that wherever we end up, that is not something that worries me about this program.
You mentioned resources, Alyssa. Do you have an opinion on how SEC institutions should have to divvy up their NIL, or not NIL, but revenue?
It's an interesting question. I will say I'm nowhere near smart enough to give an opinion on what that should look like.
We aren't either, so that's why we asked you.
The one thing that does, worry me in the case of revenue sharing, and it's something that Kirby Smart brought up yesterday, the teams and the programs that aren't football and aren't basketball. You think of women's volleyball and soccer and track and field and all of those sports that are made possible because of revenue sharing and because of the money that is made from so many other sports, the opportunities that so many, especially female athletes, have due to what the money looks like in college sports will be something that is always important to me and is important to these head coaches as well. I can't tell you how many head football coaches in the SEC sit there in our Friday meetings and talk about money distribution and how important it is for them to be able to still see other sports, women's sports on their campus as well. So I don't have the solution, but that is something that I am always attuned to. How will this be? What will the trickle-down effect of this look like to other programs?
Anything stood out to you in the first 3 days of SEC Media Days? I know we're getting ready to move in here to our final day and hear from these coaches, but any of the coaches that, hey, what they said has really stuck with me?
That's a great question. I was talking a lot with the Georgia players on Tuesday, and I had an interview with Gunnar Stockton. I know it's not a coach to your question,
right,
but Gunnar had the biggest smile on his face. I kind of expected him to come in and maybe be a little bit nervous. How are you going to step in and be QB1 at the University of Georgia and replace Carson Beck? He was so excited to be there, and it was really palpable. It excited me a lot, and I understood some of the conversations that I've had with Kirby, and Kirby talking about, and the staff talking about how excited his teammates were when Gunnar had an opportunity to lead this team into the postseason. It wasn't really, I couldn't really see it until here at Media Days when I could feel the energy of Gunnar and how he talked about how much he cares about this team. So that was something that stuck out to me that was really cool. Also having some conversations with the Tennessee attendees who were here after the tumultuous offseason of Nico Iamaleava, saying, hey, Josh Heupel said no one's bigger than the Power T. What does that look like for the culture of your program? And listening to the guys talk about the message that was sent to the locker room and how they want guys that are not bigger than Tennessee and not bigger than the program. And it was refreshing with all the conversation about NIL and revenue sharing and things like that. So those are two things that I would say from my interviews have stuck out.
Nobody loves a good rumor like SEC Media Days. Nick Saban's kind of been in the chatter this week and a return to coaching. You get to work in and around and work with his teammates. He's on your team.
Yeah.
What would you say about Nick Saban and a possible return to coaching? And what kind of teammate is he with you at ESPN and the SEC Network?
He's great. He was great to work with when he was at Alabama, and we would be in our meetings on Friday preparing. I have never learned more in a Friday meeting than sitting with Nick Saban and talking ball. So when he joined the ESPN team, it was tremendous. I can't speak to the rumor. Craig McElroy obviously brought that up. I'm sitting here going, well, from everything I've heard, seen, and that he has said, he's enjoying his job at College Game Day and being able to go golf and get on the boat and all that good stuff. So I will say, if there's ever any truth to that, I think there will be a lot of coaches across the country who go, are you freaking kidding me? Like, I thought we were rid of this guy. But from what I understand, he's really enjoying this next chapter of life. So it may be just that, just a rumor.
All right, Alyssa, we'll leave it there. Alyssa Lane, ESPN SEC Network, kind enough to join us on Radio Row. Appreciate the time.
Thanks for having me.
BetOnline continues to be your number one source for all your sports betting action. And with baseball in full swing and football season right around the corner, BetOnline has more ways to stay in on the action with the latest odds, news, and scores, even live in-game betting. From MLB, UFC to tennis and NFL futures, BetOnline remains your choice for sports wagering information. In between games, head over to the BetOnline Casino with all the top Vegas-style games, including poker and live casino. Head to the website today and take advantage of their industry-leading VIP program with level-up bonuses and weekly cash boosts. Bet online. The game starts here.